Speaking of which, big news out of Microsoft. They have finally done something. I actually had to check to see if I still had the app loaded on my phone because I thought it was gone a while ago. And that is that they've
Mhm.
officially announced the retirement of Skype, and transitioning the remaining, I think it's 5 million users, which is shockingly still a large number,
Mhm.
um, into Microsoft Teams. And I don't think there's any big impact for most organizations, particularly because of the transition into Teams. This isn't just a project that's going away. But there is a bit of a nostalgic hit for me. It's like, wow, this was like such a huge thing when it came out. So I don't know how you feel about it if you have any connection with Skype.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm pouring one out for Skype, but back when I started as an analyst in the late 2000s, I was actually tracking Skype as an enterprise messaging and communications product because because in the web with the WebExes and GoToMeetings and the unified communication solutions that were out there, there were a lot of companies that were still choosing Skype as a product to manage that, despite the fact that it was not enterprise secure and did not integrate with anything. But because it was so easy to use. And even up until 2019, Skype had 300 million users. They seemed perfectly positioned to be a solution for the COVID lockdown and pandemic. But frankly, Zoom wanted that business more and was more willing to transform their product at the end of the day to support the educational and other use cases that started coming out. And as a result, we saw Zoom take off and Skype kind of disappear and get subsumed into Teams and kind of disappear. So I just feel like this was a product that introduced telecom and conferencing via the web or via the internet to so many people, and yet every I guess company meets every product meets its end at some point.
Well, it was sort of a product caught between two eras, right? It sort of came of age really with the tail end of the bulletin board sort of era, and it was
Mm-hmm.
a revolutionary approach to all of that at the time. To your point, there's a complete dearth of any option similar to that in the enterprise space, and so of course, that's when Microsoft acquired them because companies were looking at this saying, "Hey, here's this massive messaging platform." But then eventually Microsoft found other ways to meet that problem and could do it in a more concerted way, and it just sort of sat there, and that was
Mm-hmm.
always the issue with it. I remember there wasn't. I mean, in its early days, it was one of the items when you fill out a profile. It's like, "What's your Skype handle?" Right, and then it was
Mm-hmm.
like this big thing. And so, it is sort of sad, but it's like it never quite found its footing in enterprise, and therefore it never found its sort of new home. And so it had all these, I was one of those 300 million users, and I used
Mm-hmm.
it almost never. And that's, I think that was the challenge with it as time went on. So I am
Yep.
sad. I agree. It's sort of the march, but it's also a reminder that you always have to be innovating. You always have to find ways to stay relevant, or you sort of fall off.